Roger Douglas was the Minister of Finance for the fourth Labour government. He presided over the infamous Rogernomics reforms that transformed New Zealand. Roger Douglas introduced numerous massively significant reforms without getting a mandate. He introduced GST, he cut top income tax rates massively, he floated the dollar, he corporatised government activities, he engaged in extensive privatisation, he sold masses of state assets. None of this was put forward as Labour policy at the election. He never let that stop him. He tried and failed to introduce a flat tax rate accompanied by massive spending cuts, another radical policy that had not been put forward to the voters. He tried to introduce user charges for health and education services, and major GST increases. He had no mandate for this at all. None of this was ever presented to the voters at an election. In 1984, there was an economic summit that pretended consensus would be given priority. But Roger Douglas already had his ideas, he already had his agenda, and he wanted it implemented. The summit was really just irrelevant. He desperately justified his actions as a response to a crisis, even though he went far beyond what was necessary and was attached to this extreme agenda before the crisis even presented itself. His policy agenda had very little to do with the Labour Party manifesto. Most of it came from Treasury. Treasury is not supposed to govern, they are supposed to follow the will of the government, not dictate it. Roger Douglas was incredibly anti-democratic. He was probably the most anti-democratic politician we have ever had. He had no regard for democracy, he did masses of extremely radical reforms with not even the slightest hint of a mandate. It was utterly insane. Because he was from the Labour Party, many people expected the opposite of what he did. And he got lots of criticism even from those who agreed with him. Bob Jones, for example. Bob Jones supported basically every reform that Roger Douglas introduced, but Bob Jones strongly criticised him for his dishonesty and deceit. Roger Douglas made an absolute mockery of democracy. His strategy was to get everything done before people even realise what's happening. That is his attitude, and he is very open about it. This attitude is massively anti-democratic. He had no mandate, he had no public consultation, he had no democratic legitimacy whatsoever. He hijacked the government, and for some reason, he was allowed to get away with it. And some of his policies were simply hideous. He cut taxes massively for the rich, and paid for it by increasing taxes on the poor in the form of GST. This resulted in skyrocketing wealth inequality. He privatised state assets so rich elites could exploit the public to make massive profits. He sought to reduce the accessibility of health and education. He was a horrendous finance minister, dishonest, deceitful, and downright immoral. And his vile politics lives on in the ACT Party that he founded. Do not give them an opportunity to complete what he started.